It's bad. Anime.
Hello, everybody. My name is John.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Bad Anime, the show where we decide,
Is this anime bad?
Or a vending machine? Because...
And this is funny. I'm just realizing right now, I don't even have the full title pulled up. What's the show actually called?
I actually pulled up the full title. It's called
thank God.
Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon.
Yeah.
Which is, first of all, kind of two truths and a lie here, because he is reborn as a vending machine. He is in a dungeon, but he ain't doing no wandering because he ain't got no legs.
Because he's a literal vending machine.
He's a box that dispenses drinks and or food items.
Boxo.
Boxo.
Yeah, Boxo is what they called him, yeah.
Boxo.
But late in the series, by the end of episode 2, they started giving him a name. And I'm just, because we have a sentient vending machine.
So,
because some dork was riding his, was it a motorcycle or bike?
It's a bike?
Behind a truck with a vending machine in it. The vending machine was falling. He's like, oh no, someone needs to save this vending machine. And then both him and the vending machine go off a cliff. And next thing you know, he wakes up in a fantasy world as a vending machine.
So,
with a total conscience and everything.
This has to be the most dramatic isekaiing I've ever seen in my entire life. Dude just goes off of his bike to, I read the synopsis once again before we started on Wikipedia, because I just had to refresh my memory of the idiocy of this, because the first sentence of this is, an unnamed man, you never know his name, I still don't know his name.
Oh, the show makes no attempt to tell you, which I loved.
Which is good. An unnamed man is killed in an accident involving a vending machine and reincarnates into another world as one himself. So this man is a vending machine in an isekai fantasy world, and he is alive.
Yes.
And it's not that big of a deal to him.
He's actually really enjoying it.
It's just
he
not
likes
that big of a deal.
Because they reveal early on he's a dork for vending machines. He just loves vending machines. And I'm like,
which is so stupidly specific. Who is that?
Honestly, with especially when in Japan, with how extreme the hobbyists are, I completely believe there's some guy fucking going around gotchifying and really trying to hit every vending machine in the country.
Also, I do want to preface this entire podcast with saying, Japan does have a big thing for vending machines. So I do understand maybe how some Americans or people of other cultures would find this a little weird at first. You know why? Because it is fucking weird. But it's not that weird when you kind of consider everything in Japan around
cultural
how
context,
they have a cultural context around vending machines and how they are legitimately everywhere. Even when you, me, and Chan and Renee were on a hike in Japan, and we passed a vending machine on the top of a fucking mountain selling Pocari Sweat.
There was a few different vending machines. It was amazing because do you remember what they did? It was fucking ingenious. The vending machines got more expensive as you went up.
Yes, they did.
Fucking genius.
It was so genius. And they were selling the same shit, and it just got more expensive the higher you went up, because you were sweating.
Because you're more desperate.
And you needed more Pocari Sweat.
And you need the cool, refreshing taste of Pocari Sweat to coat your throat. I don't even remember what Pocari Sweat tastes like. It tastes like every sports drink ever.
Yeah, it does. It just tastes like, it honestly was, you know what it tasted exactly like to me?
What?
You ever have Propel?
That name is super familiar, but I don't remember what Propel is.
Propel was like a Gatorade knockoff that I think is still around, but only probably lasted
I've heard it recently.
5 years. Oh, really? Okay. Maybe it is still around. But I
think my doctor actually recommended me Propel.
It's basically like Gatorade and a mix of Gatorade and, oh my God, what's that stuff that they take for babies and adults or grandparents? It's like for grandparents for their Pedialyte.
Okay, Pedialyte. Yeah.
It's like Pedialyte mixed with Gatorade, essentially.
So it's like a hangover thing.
It's like a mild, it's a hangover thing. It's like a mild tasting electrolyte beverage, I guess.
Okay, I actually have to tell this story right now. Because
I mean, we're talking about a show with the sentient vending machine. Kind of anything's fair game today, so go ahead.
Exactly. So, because of my day job, I sweat continuously. And
God, I love a good day job.
Anyway, so my doctor, like, I was like, hey, cause my doctor is reviewing my medical records, and I've only seen her a couple times now. She's my new primary care physician. My other one went on sabbatical, so she asked me like, oh yeah, you had this hospital visit back in 2020. What was this about? I'm like, oh, I was cripplingly dehydrated. She's like, oh, you're taking active measures to prevent that, right? I'm like, yeah, but I still need help. What do I do? And I brought up liquid IV, and she's like, well, that's good for a hangover, but not exactly what you need. I'm like, yeah, now you know why I put like social drinker on my medical questionnaire there. Oh my god.
Oh, that's great.
But yes, and so it was like the equivalent of her looking at me like, no, you big idiot. You like that liquid IV that's for a hangover. Oh my god.
That's hilarious. Wow. But yeah. Anyways, back to the vending machine, right?
Yes.
So we watched the first 3 episodes of this show.
Yes, we did.
We're doing a 3-episode rule today. Obviously, like the rules. We watched the first 3 episodes. Are we in or are we out? Are we going to continue? Are we not going to continue?
Exactly.
All right. The key with this show, they take a very, very long-lasting formula in anime, the Isekai formula, and let me just say, it is the most bare bones Isekai formula that they build this on top of.
Yes.
And then they throw a vending machine on top of all of it.
Yes.
The key to this show is obviously the vending machine. If they did not have the vending machine, everything in this show would be completely superfluous and would have nothing going on about it. Correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing, because that's where the best parody comes from. When you take the most basic formula and throw something so wacky in there that it completely disrupts the formula. I mean, because this is a parody. I mean, my God.
Yes.
It is, and I gotta say, some parts of it were fucking hysterical.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
I think really what sold me was the earnestness of the vending machine, because the vending machine is sentient, and also so it has this whole system, right, where it has points.
Right.
Because so basically, it's like every other isekai where they all have their video game stats readily available.
Yes, and this was very video gamey too. Yeah, it had all those point systems where people pay with money and he gets points. He can then use points to switch out items and put in new items from his stock, but also he can use points to do magic. Ooh.
Yeah, he could put a barrier around himself. He put a barrier around his first customer. It was an adventurer who just found him in a field because in video games they always have the typical grunt enemy, the first enemy you encounter that you just spend the rest of the game going, why are you still here? And you killing them in one hit. Mm-hmm. This world's version of that are frog people.
They are frog people.
So at one point, this one frog with a club comes out, starts beating up the vending machine. He doesn't know what it is. And then next thing you know, the vending machine gets away scot-free. And then 7 frogs start beating it up. And then this girl's like, get out of here, frog people. And then she's like, what is this magic thing? Because they don't understand what any of this can be. So eventually she puts in the money and gets food and drink. And then she spends all her money on this vending machine. And then eventually because this vending machine can say a few has a few stock phrases built in.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they eventually form a system of communication where it's she's like, wait, can you understand what I'm saying? Hello there. Is that phrase a way to confirm something? Hello there.
Yeah. And then no is too bad.
Exactly. So they able to build a whole system of communication with each other.
Right.
And she starts becoming friends with this sentient vending machine.
But he's also, let me tell you this, he is also very sustainable because after you eat or drink any of his products, the trash just disappears.
It just goes away, yeah. So eventually she brings it back to a village, and the entire village is like, oh my God!
What is this? And all the soldiers are there who do patrols. They're like, this would be great for patrols. And they're eating noodles and steamed buns and all the things in the vending machine.
The more they buy, the more he's able to upgrade. So he goes from potato chips and water to coffee and noodles and hot foods. Oh my god.
Yeah, and the whole town is like super gaga over this vending machine. And even in like the first episode, at the end of the first episode, throughout the second and third, like he is the most popular thing in town. Everybody kind of knows him as like, oh, that like weird looking vending machine guy. But then they all like, he's got lines out the wazoo. Lamas, who is the girl that found him, takes him around to like different people and like
Exactly.
different areas, like the soldiers who are protecting the town at night. That's how they get fed and stuff.
Yep.
So essentially everybody's everything's great. Everything's just great, kind of, with like all these people coming up to it and being like, oh, this thing's weird. What's it got? And then they get like a coffee drink and they drink it. They're like, my God, this is delicious. And that happens for like 20 minutes, essentially.
And there's one scene in here I really wanted, and I thought it would have been a great hook to end the third episode on, but they didn't do it, and I was kind of mad. Or someone says, okay. And just kind of like, or says it's bad, the food's bad, and then watch the vending machine friend go into a crisis.
Yeah, just be like, oh no, do I have to change my stock again?
I was waiting. That scene blue balls to me, and because we never got it. I'm like, God damn it.
I know. There was never like a conflict in that manner. There were conflicts, but there was never really one where somebody was like, this isn't that great, or like, why are these people liking this? There were more so. Conflicts.
There was that one guy who kept trying to stab him.
Exactly. The conflicts were about like people thinking it's so good that they want to steal everything inside. Exactly. And then people trying to steal it, and then the vending machine shooting out hot soup at them.
Yes.
Which is the most hilarious defense mechanism. Like, hey, give me your shit, vending machine. Fuck you. And then the vending machine just puts down like a bottle, and the guy goes to pick it up, and he's like, oh, it's so hot. Like, yeah, that'll show you.
Or like they bring the vending machine along for like a combat mission so it can dispense shit.
Yes.
At one point,
well, okay. Who is the captain of this mission? Let's talk about that first.
It's a fucking bear.
It's a bear. He's a bear, and he's just called Captain Bear. And
it's classic anime tradition when sometimes I love when isekai do this, where they just make one, or any anime in general, they just make one character an animal for no reason. He has no characteristics of said animal. He's just that animal in people clothes walking around. But he was just a bear.
Just kind of a bear. And he's like, Bakso,
for no reason.
I have no doubt that you will be very, very useful on this mission of ours.
It's like, why are you a bear?
And the guy's like, I'm a vending machine.
And
why are you a bear? Yeah. You're a bear.
I love the combat scene. They're getting attacked by all the frogs and whatnot. And then, like, the guy's idea is, like, the vending machine just starts spitting out, like, Diet Coke and Mentos.
That was actually phenomenal.
It was so funny.
At first, like they were getting chased by this giant flaming frog, and the vending machine. Obviously, he can't use actual words to communicate. Yeah. So he's trying to give Llamas like all this Diet Coke, and she's like, "What's all this cola?" And then he's like pushing out mints and shit, and she's like, "What's these mints?" And he's like, "Hello there." And she's like, "What do I do?" And
he's like, "Insert coins, insert coins." Like she's like, "What? I can't give you money right now." But eventually they have, like, the guy who's trying to stab him. They had him, like, tied up. So eventually they put a bunch of mints in his mouth. And he was making too much noise, so they just dumped a bunch of Diet Coke on him. And then everything exploded in his mouth. They're like, oh!
And then they defeated a giant flaming frog with a YouTube sensation from 2006. That is But then again,
like, if I ever see Mentos and Diet Coke right now, I'm going to go outside and just do that.
Obviously, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's what you do. And I was kind of hoping they would, because I was like, oh, the Coke, does he have, like, mints? And then he put out the mints, and I was like, I can't believe that this is what is happening.
This is where the show is going.
This is the current show that I'm watching right now.
This is what I'm doing with my time, and I'm absolutely adoring it.
Yes.
And
oh my God. Wow.
And then there's like the little rich girl who like will kick Bakso, but then she tries to buy him. And in the third episode, she makes
kickboxo.
I did say that. I did not mean to. That's amazing.
It's funny.
But she would just kick him and then just like say like, yeah, she would whine a bit. And the next thing you know, she's trying to buy the vending machine from Llamas, and she's like, no, Bakso's my friend. And, and then the little girl makes fun of Llamas for having big titties. And I'm like, because in the third episode, things got weirdly sexual for no reason.
They did.
At one point, they have a
Yes.
meeting. It's like, Buxo, a bunch of people are coming into the village to rep these poor refugees. But how do we prevent diseases? Starts shooting out condoms.
I honestly thought that they were going to do like, oh, like, I don't know, here's like Tylenol or something to prevent diseases. And I just guess I just didn't get the context that they meant sexually transmitted diseases.
I didn't get that either.
It was so funny. And it was this bear and his like really hot assistant. And they were like,
for no reason.
do you think that you could do anything for this town? And then he just gives them like condoms and they're like, we got to try these out. And I'm like, you're a bear.
Who are you fucking?
Who is this bear fucking? I want to know.
God, he was just a big fucking...
That was so funny. I actually just... I started seizing laughing during that part. And I was like, there is no way that this show went that route, that he's going to dispense condoms. That is fucking hilarious. And there was also, sexually, there was also another scene in this that I was like, that's interesting. With like Boxo was taken to the women's bathhouse because he has this like these like teas and like soothing spa teas and stuff and like I don't know, like shampoo and stuff like that too.
Yes.
He's basically like a CVS in there.
Yes.
He can get anything. And he's like, he has this kind of one-off thought to himself that he's like, oh no, like I'm in the women's dressing room, but you know, it's not like I came here, like they brought me here, so this is okay. And there's just a bunch of like ladies getting undressed in front of him and he's like, this is nice.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I was a dude at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then but it was so weird. The show just kind of went there in the third episode for no reason. I'm like, this is hysterical.
It really did. I was like, what? It didn't need to, but it did, and I found it so funny too.
I was so
like,
glad it did.
Me too. There was also this weird. I think like the overarching plot is going in a direction that like Lamas is trying every episode or every other episode. In these first three, she says something to him like, "Oh, I have this friend." In like the outside world,
yes,
I'm gonna bring you to her because she's really big into like sentient technology and stuff like that. I think she would like
magic, and
magic.
So Lamas wants her friend to take a look at Boxo. Yeah, that's kind of like the overarching goal. But everything in the meantime is like the first couple levels of a video game to get there.
Yes, and they're in this dungeon. Still, even though it has like an outdoor area and stuff.
Yeah, even though there's a biome that's technically in a dungeon. Yeah.
Yes.
Which was kind of confusing at first. I'm like, this is an unnecessary show. What are you doing here?
A little confusing.
But we're not exactly building to something.
Exactly. Yeah. We're not exactly privy to yet like the full zoom out picture of this whole place yet.
Right.
It's become very obvious that it is like very standard isekai world, but it could change. Yeah. It could change given like that it's one facet of like what seems to be a much larger system. I also do want to point out that one funny thing in combat, that Lamas is very, very freaking strong. That's her thing. But she can't hit anybody if her life depended on it. She just misses. But when
her accuracy is terrible.
But when she puts Boxo on her back, he balances her weight so much that she can actually hit people. I just thought that was funny. No reason other than that to mention it, but yeah.
It's a nice way to ground her character, but then, like, you know, because there's too many overpowered characters in anime in general, especially in the isekai world.
Yes.
Because there are so many shows now, which is why we haven't continued some of the other isekai we watched, where it's just like...
Oh my god.
Everything goes well for them all the time. It's like, the fuck?
Dare I mention the aristocrats' otherworldly adventures?
Even in Cheat Skill, the guy was like, yeah, he was fat for an episode, and the next thing you know, he's skinny and hot, and he has no problems anymore. I mean...
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Exactly.
But this one, I wasn't sure how they were going to do it at the beginning of it.
Oh, neither did I, because I was so curious. The main reason why I selected to do this one, because I was so curious what the humor was going to be like.
Right.
Because, like, is it going to be one of those ironic eye roll fests, or is it going to be just, like, a genuine protagonist who's a fucking vending machine?
Yeah. And that's kind of what it is. He's just like a genuine guy, protagonist, who just happens to also be a vending machine.
Yeah.
Who is very happy to be a vending machine, it seems.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's the happiest character in the show.
Yeah. He's just fine.
He just he likes having all these happy customers.
You would think if you, like, died and went to an alternate universe and just weren't a humanoid person anymore and were confined into a box and had to sell people potato chips for your life, you would think that you would be mad, but he's not. He's fine. He's like, This is great. I love vending machines. I love making people happy. Perfect combination of my interests.
At one point, one of the governors of the dungeon had to come in and say, we now have a silver coin shortage because you have them all. We're going to exchange them for some gold coins.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's selling so much that there is now a shortage of coins. This is hysterical.
Ridiculous. But yeah, and he could also, it was revealed that during the king toad, when they were fighting that flaming toad, that he can actually shapeshift too with his points and stuff and turn into like claw machines and like different kind of contraptions. So there's a lot more here too that hasn't been explored yet. And I think surprisingly, I was going in thinking, oh, this can easily be like a one-trick pony kind of show. Right. And now all I really thought about towards the end was how many possibilities that they have now going forward. The only issue I have is, I guess, like the legitimacy of the conflicts that they're going to face. Like, will there be actual legitimate conflict in this show?
Yeah, that's the thing I'm always concerned about now, because so many of these isekai are produced to be brain drain content. That's their kind of purpose in existing, is to give someone 12 new episodes of brain drain. Mm-hmm. That's the weird thing here, because how much conflict do you want? It's like watching old American TV, where they purposely had as little conflict as possible to not upset the audience, because TV was new and people thought it was haunted or some shit. I don't know. Yeah,
right.
So it reminds me, it's crazy how history can be cyclical. Difference in cultures aside. So that's my big question: is what do you do here? There are people after Boxo. Is there going to be legitimate conflict? Is the show hoping the comedy would rope people in for the rest of the series, and then it's going to go in a cool different places? It's entirely possible. Yeah. Who the fuck knows?
And I guess, like, my question here is, are you in or are you out?
See, this is actually very tough for me.
It's tough for me, too. It's a tough question.
Here's the thing. If we said right now we're definitely going to give this a shot and keep going with it, I'm absolutely in. Or if you and I were, like, hanging out, like, because a lot of these sessions are remote now due to scheduling conflicts and just, like, how busy we both are. If you and I are hanging out together with several drinks in us and we put on the show, I'd be absolutely enthralled. I'd be so happy to be doing.
I'd be so happy to do that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I guess you could say I'm tentatively in. I'm going to say tentatively in, because, again, the show was funny enough to pull me in, and the overwhelming curiosity. It does harken back kind of to Spirit Chronicles a little bit, where it's a charming-ass show, and I'm curious, what's the conflict going to be? Or is it going to be like Spirit Chronicles, where there is no conflict, and then Rio's just the best all the time? When is Season 2?
Give me Season 2. I need it.
It's been announced, but they haven't said a fucking... I'm looking it up right now, because this is the kind of shit that I care about.
You know what? Japan is so good at announcing things and not giving me concrete dates. They're so good at that.
Exactly.
It's infuriating.
It says 2024. Okay, it's saying 2024.
Well, that's not too long from now.
Yeah, it's confirmed that's gonna premiere sometime in 2024. Okay,
nice. Okay, well,
so next year we have Spirit Chronicles Season 2 to look forward to.
Thank God. Thank the Lord.
It's amazing how we're winding down on this episode. It's like, what the fuck is more Spirit Chronicles coming out?
But yeah,
But Patrick, for you, where are you at? Are you in, out, tentatively, one way or the other?
I'm honestly gonna say that I'm tentatively out. Actually, I'm not like fully out. Like, as you said, like, if you ever call me on like a Saturday and you're like, hey, are you doing anything today? And I'm like, no. You're like, do you want to come over and like just get really bombed and like finish this vending machine show? I'd be like, absolutely. Yes. No problem.
Now that sounds like so much fun.
It does sound like so much fun. Maybe we just should do that. Because if we don't, I feel like
we're not going to watch it.
Watching the show. Yeah, you know what? I mean, maybe I'm interested in how it progresses, but I honestly think that there won't be much else to talk about when we finish the season, unless we're having a blast, hanging out, drinking, and like being dudes, being bros, Because I feel like if we just do it, if I watch it on my own and we finish it, I'm like, I have a fear that it's going to be like, how much more can I expand on this beyond the shock factor of it being about a vending machine?
It's kind of the Harambe with Baki. It's like, what do we talk about here?
Yeah, what do we do? Mean? What do we do? Right?
So, okay, so I have a proposal to you, and this is like, I've made a few of these proposals before. Some of them have played out, some of them have not over the course of the podcast. Our longtime viewers would be like, oh, fuck, another proposal over something they may or may not do. Yeah, guys, we love you, and we're sorry for not coming through on some of our ideas.
Yes, we're sorry. But we we're busy. You're busy. We're all busy.
But so here's my thing. If at some point in the near future, you and I, what I propose we do, let's continue the show only in the circumstance that we get together early in the day, have several drinks, watch the remaining 9 episodes, and then record our episode immediately.
Yes.
Because we've only recorded 1 episode bombed, and it was so incoherent we didn't release it.
Yes, it was. It was. Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'd be down for that, Lens. I'd be down to do that. Otherwise, maybe I wouldn't watch it myself, so I think we should do it.
I think we should do it, yes. And like I said, I'm curious enough where I would do it by myself, but it'd be much more fun if we did it together. So let's give it a shot. And, if we don't release that episode, we either tried it and it didn't go very well, or we got through 4 episodes and get bored. But we promise to give you guys an update on that at some point.
We will give you an update on some point. At the very least, we will drink all day and have a good time. At the very least.
And we publish on Wednesdays, but if you're hearing this on a weekend or the weekend, if you're really excited for this weekend, maybe you should do that this weekend. Have a couple drinks and watch a Vending Machine show. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Invite some friends. Have fun. Be good. Life's short. Enjoy it.
Bye, y'all.
It's bad.
That's right, everybody. The fun is over today. Thanks so much for clicking on the episode, but the fun does not have to stop here. You can hit us up anywhere that you can find us on Instagram or TikTok at badanimepod, or you can even email us to get in touch with us directly at badanimepod@gmail.com if you got any opinions or just want to send some hate mail or love mail. We'll take both. We don't care. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and have a great day.
Simple Equations Podcast Network.